Hi everyone, this is Chamil, Sound 24/7 software architect, and here I'm starting with you to explain what is IoT. Last time I have explained, so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some advanced scenario how to do that, and especially I'm going to give you an idea how you can use this real in the real world with a proper IoT gateway and the professional way of doing that. Okay, so let's see. Can you remember this solution? It was the previous one. Earlier in the past session, we have done this. And what we have used is a scale to measure the weight. And then we had a mobile device and Node MCU kind of a Arduino some kind of a special device, a digital device plus electronic lock. We have used all these things and we have connected this mobile app into a Google Fitness API. Finally, we have came up with a little solution where when you measure your weight, if it is too much, then the refrigerator will be automatically get locked. So that was the scenario. Now let's go and see the next step. What are the problems we had here? Number one, limited connections. Can we connect 300 or 500 devices to a mobile phone via Bluetooth? No, yes. Okay, maximum 5 devices, maybe sometimes some devices, some mobile phones doesn't allow more than one as well. So in this case, we are limited to the number of connections. Number two, if I think about the distance, the devices, all the devices and the mobile phone should be there within a uh, given distance. So maybe 15 meters maximum. So that is the problem, the second problem. The third thing is if we want to extend this device, for an example, we want to add some more devices like scaling measure for an example, not only the refrigerator, also the microwave oven. And then when it goes to your laptop, you're browsing to food related like chocolate websites and all should be automatically blocked by your uh, firewall. So those kind of things, can you easily add them? It's really hard, right? So you have to do programming on that particular device again and again. So those are the issues we have for the moment. The next thing is maintainability. Now these devices are connected to a mobile phone and that mobile phone should be updated. The application and everything should be updated from the remote location. So there are issues like that. And lack of mobility. If you try to get this solution to a different place, or maybe using a different scale, using a different refrigerator and all, there will be problems. So these limitations should be overcome when it's come to a complete IoT solution. Not only that, but also the usability. Now, if you have some kind of a thing, if you have developed something like this, and if the user has to do a lot of configuration, it takes 2-3 hours to configure and start using it, users may probably stop using this. And they tell that, okay, what's the hell, we cannot use this anymore because it's really hard to uh, configure all these things and get this working, right? For an example, if you buy a television, you expect that when you plug it, when you can see some kind of a image. If you have thousands of configurations, there will be a mess, as well as there will be an issue when you are using it. Okay, now the next thing, what we have to do in order to sort this out. Okay, first thing, limited connections versus many connections. We should be able to connect millions of devices. The second thing is not only short distance, even long distance. For an example, your car may be there in a different city now. It was there in Kandy, it is there in Kandy, and you are in Colombo. So still you should be able to connect to those things. The third thing is limited extensibility. Now, what we have to do is we have to create a method to plug each and everything. For an example, if my solution is there and if there is a different scale, there should be easy way of plugging that. But the next thing is maintainability. So there should be a mechanism to automatically update this software and so on. The next thing is, if it is hard to configure, then we have to make it plug and play. You plug it and it will start working. So there should be some kind of mechanism like this. So these are common issues, and this is how we have to think from a IoT solution perspective. So getting the things somehow working is not enough when it comes to IoT solution, but it should be extensible, maintainable, and plug and play. And then it should be pluggable, many things, and it should work on distance as well. For an example, it should be location agnostic. Okay. Now, to sort it out, the best way is to go ahead with a cloud-based solution. What do you mean by a cloud-based solution? What we are going to do here is we are going to replace this particular mobile device with a cloud-based solution. So that's what we are going to do now. Okay. Right. The cloud-based solution, what will happen is we will be replacing our mobile device with a cloud connector or a cloud-based some kind of a server, and every device is connecting to that cloud-based server as if you have connected to the mobile via Bluetooth. We are using some kind of other protocol to connect to a server exist in the cloud. Cloud means certain servers hosted by someone else, or maybe yourself in the internet. So it's actually not in the sky clouds, right? So some of the people have mentioned like it's there in the sky, but no, it's not the case. It's a real server or set of servers which is existing and connected to the internet. And those are ready to be used by yourself. So you can even host some kind of a server like this. Okay, what's our next? Now, these kind of special solutions, the people have came up with certain solutions called IoT cloud solutions. Now, those are the pure purpose of having those kind of connectivities to make sure you can develop these IoT scenarios very easily on top of these cloud-based solutions. For an example, these cloud-based solutions will have lot of features: visualization, connecting devices, gathering information from devices, and when you want to manipulate or when you want to let's say that unlock this electric signal, you have to send a command from this particular cloud system to your Node MCU. So everything is covered by this particular cloud-based solution. Now, if you want to know what are the cloud-based solution platforms already available for your use, if you want to use it, then Google provide their own IoT cloud. And AWS has their own IoT platform. Azure, Microsoft Azure, they are already having their own platform. There is another platform called Adafruit, and there is another platform called ThingsBot. Now, in our scenario, in my session, I am going to show you, demonstrate you how ThingsBot can be used to do the same thing or do some kind of IoT related scenario. The next thing, when you are communicating with this IoT platform, there are many protocols. What do you mean by a protocol? Can somebody elaborate? Okay, what is a protocol? Do you have any idea? You can type. Okay, you are typing. Okay, set of rules. Good. What else? Are there any other? Yes, rules and regulations. Good, good, good. Okay, I'll explain you what is a protocol is. Protocol is, as you mentioned, a simple way of communicating. Before communicating, we have to make sure that we are adhering to a certain rules, set of rules. For an example, after each and every sentence, we are putting a dot. So that is kind of a protocol. Everybody, the person who is writing as well as reading, both agreed that if you put a dot after a sentence, the sentence is over. So that is the protocol. Now, what do you mean by these protocols? HTTP, MQTT, RPC, gRPC, REST. What do you think? What are those? So those protocols are typically so-called internet-based protocols, and these are really these are extensively used by IoT solutions. For an example, this HTTP or REST-based communication is really a famous thing, and almost all the systems nowadays support HTTP based intercommunication. So before everything, I think it's better to know REST or HTTP based communication, how we can do this. What is this HTTP based communication? How many of you are aware of this REST APIs or HTTP protocols? Yes, we are going to upload this. Okay. How many of you are aware about the HTTP or REST protocols? Can I get some kind of idea? If you are not aware, you can answer as well. Right, connect to the internet. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to explain you what is this HTTP or REST-based communication. Now let's get one example. It is right, transfer web content to the web browser. That is also a good thing. Hypertext transmission protocol. Good, everything is good. Now I'm going to show you how this thing will be happening. Now, first of all, I am going to something called facebook.com. So let me again share my screen. Okay. Yes. Now you can see if I type www.facebook.com, loads the Facebook. Okay. Now I am going to this Google Chrome developer tools. There is something called developer tools here under more tools. If I go there, there are many things: elements, console, performance, memory, everything. Now I'm going to this particular network tab. Hope you can see that, right? Okay. Now I'm going to clear this, and then again I'm going to this URL, facebook.com. You see how many requests are going to the Facebook server. For that one click or one URL entering. So this much of requests has gone to that particular server via HTTP. Okay. Now let's go and see one request. If you look at this HTTP www.facebook.com, it's the URL request URL is https facebook.com, and there is something called request method is get. Just remember that. Then there is something called status code 200, and you have few other things. If you go down, there is something called request headers. It says that in the request headers, we accept text/HTML or application XML, XHTML, something like this. Now they are telling that we are accepting HTML, and we accept it if it is even gzip encoded. And only the languages we are accepting is English, Great Britain. Okay. So a lot of things are going as headers. Now you can see, even though we see just www.facebook.com, they are internally, the browser is internally sending something called request headers, which is simply key and a value. Authority is a key value. Method, method value. Path, path value. Scheme, HTTPS. Sorry. Likewise, they are sending many information into this. Okay. Right. Now, if you think about response, the same way they are sending a lot of response headers. At the same time, they are sending response body as well. You can see, since we have expected HTML, they have sent an HTML. Okay. This is clearly an HTTP based communication. Okay. At the same time, I would like to say there are certain things which are sent hidden to us. Now let's go into this particular slide and let me show you something like this. What is this HTTP? It is the protocol. Okay. And this is the resource or the URL. Now, if I want to go into my particular profile, what should I do? Facebook.com/KD Chamil. That is my profile. In the Facebook, if you have someone called KD Chamil, that is my profile. Okay, again, you will see, right? Let me clear it and load it. Right. Now you can see the request URL is this and the request method is get. Okay. Now, if I want to see all my friends, what should I do? Facebook.com/KD Chamil/friends. Okay, it automatically goes to these friends. Can you see? Good. Okay. Now you can see some kind of a pattern. Let me go back to my presentation. If you have some kind of a URL, if you have some kind of a name or name, then it will give you this profile. If you have profile/friends, all the friends of that particular profile you will be given. For an example, let me take another example. Let's say this is about a school, www.exampleschool.com/students. And if you have the get as the verb, what do you mean? You get all the students in this particular school. Okay. If you have a student/grades, then it will be giving you all the grades related to that particular student. Now you can see how I can use this get. And the next thing is, if you look at the toolbox again, the developer tools again, okay, now I'm going to show you how can I write a new new post. So I'm going to create a new post and it should be only for me, right? Otherwise all the people will get surprised. Now I'm typing hello. Okay, you can see now by typing that they have sent couple of requests. Anyway, now I'm posting. Okay, posted. Now let's go and see what kind of a post has happened. Can I see something here? Okay, can you see something here? The Facebook.com API GraphQL method is what? Is it get now? Is it get? or post. Hello. I think all of you can hear me.
You are now
Yes,
unmuted.
we can hear you, Jamil. Yes.
Good, good, good.
You are now muted.
Okay. Now, request method is not get but post. Why? I am sending some information. I'm sending some specific information to that particular server. If you go to this request and the method is post not get, because I'm not going to get something. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add something to the server now. That is why it has become post. Now if you go again and see the request headers, the method is post, path is API GraphQL, and a lot of things are there. Then I have sent a request body. Okay, a request body. I have sent it. This is the body I have sent. So there are a lot of things gone. At the same time, if you carefully see somewhere, it may have whatever the text I have sent as well. Okay, here. These are things they have sent. Likewise, you can send data as well to the server. Okay, let me get back to my presentation. If you see this, now, do you know what is this? Headers? Yes, they have sent some additional things called headers. In addition to whatever the request body and the method. Get post you already know. There are certain things called delete as well, delete and put and many other things. So I'm going to give you an idea again later. And HTTP status code, if you look at this, that is something like 200.404. Now you may have seen if I ask something like this, what should I get? I am getting a different value. Or www.facebook.com. Okay, the content isn't available right now. So if you look at the method, or if you look at what I am getting, that is 404. It is the URL or the status code. Now, if it is successful, when you get something, if it is successful in the response header, I am getting 200. Okay, that is how we are doing communication using HTTP. Now, when it comes to REST, it is again yet using HTTP. So, using HTTP, we can represent anything like this. For an example, if you have some URL called, let's say, www.zone247.com, I can create a special URL called /HR/employees. What should I get? Any idea? List of employees. Am I right? Do you get my point? Okay. The next thing. If I type HR/employees/100, what does that mean? Can somebody tell me what does it mean? HR/employees/100. And the verb is get. HTTP verb is get. Okay, people are typing. Right, employee with the ID 100. So I will be getting this kind of a record set. Employee ID 100, name is John, address is this, and DOB is this. You can see all these things are simple key and value pairs. Key, value, employee ID 100, name John Doe. Address, again a sub-document, which is again having set of key value pairs. So everything is started with a curly brace, everything is finished with a curly brace. Okay. When you want to create a new employee, what you should do? Now you have to change this HTTP verb into post, and the URL will be HR employees. And in the request body, you have to send the name colon the name, address colon the address, and street colon street, and so on. When you give everything, it will be creating a new employee. Okay. If you want to update only, let's say this street or something, name and everything you want to update, then what you have to do is you have to call this special HTTP method called put, and HR employees 123 put this particular content. So what will happen in the server? It will automatically delete the existing document about information about this 123 and replace it with this new content. If you want to delete this employee now, he has gone, he's away now. In that case, what you have to do is simply call this delete method in the HTTP and give this particular URL. It will be automatically get deleted. Okay, right. So with authentication, it's a good point. Now, if you want to have REST API with authentication, for an example, let's say that it is my Zone 24/7 is my company, and under the HR system, all these APIs are publicly available now. Anybody can type zone247.com/HR/employees and put 100 or something and post a delete call. Now what will happen? That employee record will be deleted from our systems. Now is it acceptable behavior? No. We need some kind of authorization mechanism telling that, okay, only people who has this particular username, password or API key can do this, others forbidden. Okay, so we need that as well. Good. Thank you, Damit, for that question. Okay, so the next thing. Now, why I told you all these things? The reason is I want to use HTTP as my protocol to communicate with our cloud counterpart. Now, in the cloud, we will be having a API IoT gateway. When I'm creating some kind of a device, when I'm having some kind of Arduino, maybe not MCU, any other device, maybe my computer, maybe my mobile device. So if I want to communicate with my IoT gateway, one of the methods, one of the protocols I can use is this HTTP. And this all HTTP teaching was done to make sure you can understand that part. Now, how can I send this kind of a post method? Now, you have already seen that I can send a get method into one of the URLs called facebook.com via the mobile, my web browser. But can I send post method like this? Can I simulate? No, we have to have some kind of a special simulation mechanism to send that to Postman, send that to a server. So you have a couple of options here. Number one is curl. This curl is a command line utility coming with either Linux or Mac. Even Windows has certain versions of curl now. You have to externally install that. Otherwise, using your command prompt, you can use this curl method. So it's command line based tool. So since it is little bit inconvenient, I am going to use something called Postman. You can download it for free and it is available freely as well. So I have downloaded and installed this Postman here. Okay. CentOS also have this because it's a version of Unix. Unix, Linux, CentOS, Taproban, and almost all these things, they are having this particular tool, no issue. Now, if I go into this Postman, if you can see my screen, now it has a chance to do anything, get, post, put, I can change the method. Then I can go and put some kind of a URL like this. Then I have certain headers. I can add any header like this, content type application JSON, or maybe authorization and the accept headers. I'm accepting only these things and so on. Any header can be added, no issue. It can be even a custom header. Right. So using that, I can simply send an HTTP request and I can see the response as well. What are the response headers and what are the cookies, and all these things can be received from this by just sending this request. That is what Postman is. Okay, now let me get back to one of our IoT platforms. I'm going to show you a platform called ThingsBoard. This is an open source platform where you can download this ThingsBoard and install on your own server. The URL is thingsboard.io. Okay. And if you want to try out without installing, and if you are kind of a person just having kind of an idea of trying out this thing, what you can do is you can click on this demo.thingsboard.io. So it's a demonstration site. If you go one of the places like that, this is thingsboard.io, you can go and see. And if you want to try it, you can click on this try now, or else you can simply type thingsboard.demo.thingsboard.io. It will ask you to register first. It will ask first name, last name and all these things. Then you can register. Then when you are connecting, they will ask your credentials. Once you have given credentials, you are coming into this URL. Now remember what we are talking about now. This is an IoT gateway or IoT platform. You have your Arduinos and all these things, mobile phones and everything with your hand. Now this is deployed on a server in remote location. You can simply use and try out whatever you want. Okay. Now the first thing, if you want to add some kind of a device here, what you can do is you can go into these devices. Now I'm going to connect my Arduino, I'm going to connect my Node MCU, I'm going to connect my Raspberry Pi, or maybe a software developed by myself on my laptop or a mobile. I don't mind, because any of these devices I have mentioned can send a REST request or HTTP request to this particular server without any issue. So this server, the whole concern is what are the values or what are the things I am getting from those devices, what should I do as processing, how should I visualize everything, and how can I send commands back to one of my devices, whatever the device we have mentioned. Now every program, the path, if the temperature has gone above this level, this should be done. Everything is defined here as a graphical programming language. Okay, so that is what the IoT gateway is. Let me show you. Now I am going to show you something where I am going to do some kind of a temperature reading, push them as a HTTP request to this IoT gateway and show them in a chart. Okay, do you get my point? Are you good? Yes, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go into this ThingsBoard demo. I am going to create a new device, and in order to create this device, what I have to do is I have to click here, add new device. The device name is my home, let's say temperature. Device type, I can type anything, temperature, and label is home temp. Okay, I can type anything and add it. Now if you go to the next page, you can see my home temperature device has been added. Now you can click on that. It will be showing something like this: the details, attributes, last telemetry, alarms, events, relations, and so on. One advanced thing I can do is I can go and create an asset. I can create an asset. I can do something like, for an example, the asset is my home. It's a home and it's Chamil's home. So I'm going to place my device in this home. So I have created this home and I can go into that home and I can add relationship. If you go to relationship, I can add a device like this. The type is a device. The device name is my home temperature. I can add multiple devices as well. Anyway, I have just added that. Now, if you go to my assets or my home, everybody knows that in my home there is a what? Device called my home temperature device. Okay. Anyway, if I go back to this particular device and try to get this device, under details, there is something called copy device ID or the copy access token. So what I can do is now for each and every device, there is a separate access token given by these people. Okay, if I press that, the access token will be copied to my what we call the clipboard. Now you can see this is the access token I got. Okay, right. I'm going to show you how can I use this access token now. What do you mean by telemetry? Do you have any idea? Telemetry? In this device world, if you are reading certain readings, for an example, from your temperature sensor, if you are reading temperature every 1 minute, all these readings are called telemetry. Okay. Now these telemetries, for an example, let's say from the temperature sensor, every 5 minutes there will be a reading, read and publish to this particular IoT gateway. How can I publish it now? How can I publish? The simplest way is I have to go into one of these posts, the Postman-like tool, and the URL is demothingsboard.io API version 1 or 2 / whatever the code. Now this is the URL like facebook.com and you have to add this particular device. Okay, this is the device now. Are you clear? The next thing is, as if now, can you remember in my Facebook thing, facebook.com /kdchamil/friends was referring to my friends, right? The same way, if I want to refer to telemetry data in this particular device, I have to add telemetry here. Okay.
You are now unmuted.
Chamil, your microphone is muted.
Am I
You
good?
are now muted.
Yes.
You are now unmuted.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to
muted.
pass a message to my kid because he was
You are now
kind of
unmuted.
shouting. Hope you have heard of that, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good,
You are
good,
now
good.
muted.
Right. Now, the same way, kdchamil/friends, I am adding my device /telemetry. Now I can send any telemetry. Before that, I have to add content type application JSON here. Then I have to go into this particular body. In this body, I can send any key value pair like this: humidity, temperature, window, anything. But in my concern, it's only temperature. I'm just concerning about temperature. If my device is supporting temperature, humidity, and everything, I can send everything. If I want to send XYZ here, it is also allowed. No issue. XYZ is ABC. This will be accepted. Okay. Now I'm going to send this temperature. This is called JSON. JSON. This is the format called JSON. Okay. Now I'm going to send a JSON temperature 20 to this particular device. Now I can press this send button. Okay, what's my output? The head status is 200. Okay, what does it mean? My request is successful. Now I'm going to send another one. Now 22. Again send it. Okay. Now after a couple of seconds, 25. Send it. Good. If you go and see in this demo now you are in these devices, and under this particular device, you are in this details page. What you can do is, you can go and click on this latest telemetry. What is the last value? 25. For an example, I am going to again update that to 23. Okay, done. Now what is the value? 23. The last update time was this. Now likewise, you will get this latest telemetry data into this particular thing. Now I'm going to do some kind of a visualization. Typically, visualizations done in dashboards. You can create any dashboard like this. So if you go and press one of these dashboards, it's something like this. Now you can create a dashboard like this. I'm going to show you how to create a dashboard with this device data. Now, first of all, go to this device and go to this latest telemetry. Select whatever the telemetry you want. For an example, if you have temperature, humidity, and something else, you can choose one of these things. Then I will click on this show on widget. Right. So there are many widgets. You may see here, this is one widget. The temperature will be shown like this. For an example, if I again send a temperature request here, like 22, okay, it is automatically updated. Can you see? So you can add even charts. These are called cards. These are charts. Now you can see, again, I'm sending a value, some different value, let's say 21. Okay, reduce 23. Right, real-time charts are also available now. So I can add it to one of the dashboards. So dashboard is collection of charts like this. You can go to the dashboard and see all these charts together. Okay, see, either I can use the existing dashboard and add that, or else I can create a new dashboard. My dashboard IoT, right? So I'm adding one here in front. One my dashboard IoT. Okay, that has been added. Now let's go. Dashboards. My dashboard IoT. Open the dashboard. Okay, guys, looks like kind of a problem. Okay, it's coming. Now again, I'm going to show you, because it's just showing a previous value, the similar value, 21. Okay, it's gone automatically. Now, can you see the power of having this kind of a IoT platform? Now, not only this, now we can, for an example, let's say if I want to have some kind of an alert, automatically there should be an email when the, let's say this refrigerator, one of my refrigerators in home, I am placing a sensor. Then I want to see if the temperature has gone up to 15. So in your refrigerator or the fridge, if the temperature has gone up to 15 Celsius, what does it mean? It is not working, right? Malfunctioning. So in that case, if I want to have an email, let's say this is the scenario. In that case, particular case, you have to go into something called rule chains. You can create any rule chain like this. the default rule chain is something like this. In the default rule chain, if you go, whatever the input you receive here, it will be switched. If it is a post attribute, it will be saved, right? If it is post telemetry, save it as a telemetry. So attribute versus telemetry, I'll give you the differentiation later. And if it is RPC, RPC device log. And if it is other, it is just going to a log. And if it is a RPC request to device, that request will be gone to your particular device now. Okay, this is how the things will be happening by default. What you can do here is, for an example, post telemetry, rather than saving, you can do something additional. Likewise, as an example, you can go here and you can tell send email. You can find it here. So there are a lot of things you can do. Almost everything you want to do, you can do it. So there is something called send email or send notification. Okay, to email or send email. Right. And if you want, you can give your own SMTP settings for your own SMTP server. For an example, if I have my own Gmail account, if I want this email should be sent from that particular device, a particular Gmail account, you can enable SMTP on your Gmail account and add those details here. If you search for send email via Gmail on the this particular in Google, you will be able to see how you can send it, send through SMTP. Okay. Finally, if you add, for an example, this one, and I'm using the default one, and I can have something like this. When it is what? Now there are certain things. Post telemetry, if I select that, every message, every telemetry data, every 5 minutes, I will get an email. Why? Every 5 minutes, I am setting my device to send a telemetry data or a device reading. In that case, every 5 minutes, I will be reading. But I don't want to have this. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have something like alarm acknowledged or something like that. Whenever there is a alarming situation, you can send it. Or else you can simply say, for an example, let's say when the device is malfunctioning or not sending data every 5 minutes, you have everything configurable here on failure. Okay. If the message is failed to pass anywhere, you will be receiving an email. So this is one of the example what you can do, the power of things. I'm not going to explain everything here because this is very complex. You can see how many things are there. For an example, you can add some kind of if-else or repetitive for loops or create alarm. So those kind of things are there. So you can write a text as well. Some kind of a scripting, JavaScript based scripting also possible here. Okay, so this is how you can add a rule chain and control or govern your entire solution. Now, can you see, you can have one device, it will be giving some input, one or many devices. You can do aggregation, you can do whatever you want. You can have custom logic here, and based on logics, you can either send emails, either enable some kind of alarm system on your home, or maybe in your home refrigerator has gone down, you will be automatically getting an SMS. So even those kind of things can be done here. The SMS is not available. You have to use some kind of a third-party API to do this SMS. Okay, that is how you can use this. And if you want to know, if you want to do a full complete solution, I'd recommend one of the videos. So let me show you that video, and I'm not going to play it fully here. What you can do is you can see the video later. This is the video. So let me play a little bit here with you. And after 2-3 minutes, I'm going to give a chance to do it by yourself. Okay, let me stop sharing. And okay, this is the URL I have mentioned.
Hi everyone, this is Andrew from SyncSport. In this video tutorial we are going to develop a basic IoT application using SyncSport. This application will collect temperature readings from multiple devices in the building. We are going to visualize these devices within the building with the ability to drill down to a particular dashboard. In addition, we will configure SyncSport to raise alarms when the temperature readings exceed a certain threshold. At the end of this video, we will configure SyncSport to send notifications about new alarms via email. Let's proceed to the hands-on part. First, we need to have an access to SyncSport.
Okay, this video will be showing you a complete guide. It will be completely guide you to show that how to provision asset. For an example, create a building, inside that how to create a room and place a device there to mapping purposes, then how to relate that device with that particular asset, then push data from the device. That is one way, remember. In that, to auto-generate some random values every 5 minutes for testing purposes. So even though you don't have this particular REST API or REST post everything, what you can do is in the rule engine, you can create a new rule. Every time, every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds, it will be pushing some readings, a random reading. You can do that. Then they will show you how you can do some kind of a real-time dashboard as I shown you. Then you can define a threshold and trigger alarms based on the temperature level. For an example, if the temperature goes beyond 40, automatically get a notification to you, something like that. Okay, so that is what it does. And at the same time, AI and analytic features can also be enabled through this platform. For an example, you can call one of the Google's or whatever the AI platforms like TensorFlow or anything, and through that you should be able to get some kind of a special artificial intelligence based, machine learning based decisions done. Based on those decisions, you will be able to get into this kind of some decisions, advanced decisions, and based on that you can manipulate the other devices. So all the tutorials, everything is available in this ThinkSport. If you go into this whatever the website, and you can use this to read and do these things. All the tutorials are there, even video tutorials are available on YouTube. Okay, good. All these are tutorials by them. Okay. Right. So these are the tutorials that I have mentioned. If you go into thinksport.io and if you go to docs, that there is something called tutorials, a section of tutorial, the video tutorials on this YouTube channel. All these things are tutorials about ThinkSport. And you are not limited to work on ThinkSport. You may be able to use many things like Google IoT platform, Azure platform, and AWS platform, and so on. I have not gone into any of these things because if you want to have a trial account for 1 year with any of these platforms, you have to have a credit card. They are not charging from the credit card, but you have to at least minimum provide a credit card. That is why since most of the people are not able to get some kind of a credit card access, I have used this free of charge platform, and this is open source as well. If you want, you can download it and use it. But if you are using this demo site, every 24 hours, they will be deleting all the data you have, not these flows and everything, only the telemetry data. They will be deleting everything. So that's the only concern you have when you are using this live demo. Otherwise, you can download this software and install it on your machine so that Thingsboard Cloud will be running on your computer. Okay, that's it. So any questions from you? It's time for your questions.